Okay, it is 6:03 and we have a quorum present, so I'm calling this meeting to order. Those who choose to can stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance or stay in silent meditation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Jesus.
Yeah. Quick question, is anyone taking notes for Mike?
Yes, I got them. I appreciate that.
If you want to do or not?
If you still have to have a little things, that's different. Thanks, Rena. So the first order of business is to approve the minutes from the January 2024 regular monthly business meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? Thank you, Mike P. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Barbara. Is there any discussion, changes?
I don't think we'll be able to approve because two people who were here as our quorum were not here. So I think we're gonna have to approve it next time.
Okay, well, is there any discussion or changes that need to be made from those that were in the meeting? Okay, so we will be tabling the approval of the minutes from January 2024 until our next meeting in March. The next order of business is the public input session, which we approved 3 minutes of talking time for anybody that would like to talk. Is there any member of the public that would like to share? Okay. Is there input from the public that we received?
Yep, I have a few things to read. One note said, please reopen the cafe, thanks. Michelle Key on the info desk took the time to help me set up Libby on my tablet. She was very pleasant and patient. I love GPL, come a lot, belong actively to 2 groups here, Kathleen McCabe. B, yeah, sorry. Amazing, but this pen barely works.
So we're fixing that.
Another one, last one, wondering the reason why the library column in the Enterprise is no longer being published. Every other library in the area reported. I hear Luann tried to do it, but can someone else take over? Thanks, Richard Rubin. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other public input, we will move along to personnel actions. There are 6 listed on the paper. Are we okay with voting on all of them at once? So I'm going to read out loud the personnel actions and then ask for a motion to accept. So to accept the resignation of Sean Day, custodial worker, effective January 6, 2025. To accept the resignation of Lindsay Fox, library page, effective January 23rd, 2025. To accept the resignation of Ella Geary, library page, effective January 23rd, 2025. To accept the resignation of Jacqueline Every, fiscal officer 2, effective February 18th, 2025. To approve the appointment of, I should have asked, Layla Jessic, custodial worker, effective February 19th, 2025. And to approve the appointment of Gabriel Barbaglio, library page, effective February 19th, 2025. Do I have a motion to accept those personnel actions? Thank you, Alish. Is there a second? Thanks, Mike P. Is there any discussion? Okay, there be.
I just have a question. How are we doing with custodial workers? Do we have enough?
We're still fully set up.
Okay, good.
Looks like we had a swap.
Yeah, I see that.
There's no other discussion. All in favor of approving these personnel actions, please say aye.
Aye.
There's no opposed and no abstentions. So next up on the list is the treasurer's report for January. Take it away, George.
Thank you. Does everybody have the statements of that position in their package? Think once,
Yeah.
never.
We were confused.
I try not to.
Yes.
Once there are exceptions. So, just kind of as a reminder, what I try to do when I look at the financial statements is just look for unusual trends. And just kind of mentally tie things out so that, to make sure they make sense and everything. So I'm looking at the statements. My first reaction was cash and cash equivalents was high, and we try not to leave money in line one. We'd rather move them down to short-term investments because we get interest on that. But as it were, and there was money at Broadview that matured in a CD that is just in cash and cash equivalents until it can be invested. And the same thing happened in the prior month. And looking back to 6/30, we had an issue at NBT where our account was compromised, so it was temporarily sitting in the cash and cash equivalents. I happened to look at November, October, and September, and the average was about 104,000, and that's really the balance we're kind of hoping for, to keep it down low. I think I've said before that, I don't know if it shows up that well. Yeah, maybe not, but there are gray lines that are really only changed annually, so I don't even look at those. And I think that was about it. The relationship I always look at is if cash and cash equivalent, total current assets went down about 400,000. And that happened to be just about our loss as it should be for the month. It should follow along because we get all of our tax revenue in usually one shot and then a little bit more to finish up the year. Flipping it over to the revenue and expenses, we continue to be favorable on all other revenue. I think when we put the budget together, we were very cautious about it. When you look year to date, our variance is about 18,000 favorable, which it's good. But we do have room to be less cautious. I think that a lot of the numbers are a little different. We've seen the history of it, so they're more trendable. And looking at operating expenses in total, they were within $2,700 of budget. We were 27 favorable. There was a big number in library materials. I think Keith has repeatedly said that these items were on back order and coming in slowly, and and that's catching up. But on a year-to-date basis, we're still 9,000 favorable on that. Salaries continue to be favorable, and the rest of the numbers just kind of jumped around a little bit. Utilities were unfavorable, but year-to-date, it was 550 favorable. And we've looked at some of the other numbers in the past around building maintenance and technology, and they're running unfavorable year to date, but I guess we're more optimistic that there were some one-time hits to those. They also, on non-operating revenue, we're about $3,500 for the month favorable on interest and investment income. And we do well on interest income, which is good because it helps offset the tax levy and some of our expenses and everything. And we really picked that up. I happen to be looking at a draft of the audited financial statements for June. And we had $1,915 in interest income. So we're doing better than we were. That's it. Any questions on the statements?
I'm gonna roll right into it. Is there anything else? Yeah.
Okay, so the check register is in front of you. When I was looking at it last night, I think I was suffering from deficient old user's eyes. So I made it a little bit bigger. And it's an experiment to see if there's more questions when it's bigger, because you might actually be able to see it. And I guess I would say that this runs from January 11th to February 26th, so it's a little longer period because the board meeting was delayed a little bit. Pete informed me, I looked at it last night for the 25,000 disbursement to Upper Hudson. I didn't understand the ERO contribution. That just wasn't a phrase that I knew. And I looked it up on the internet and came up with something entirely different than the electronic electronic reordering, which is, yeah.
Reorder items where there are patrons still waiting to borrow them, but our ownership period has lapsed. So it's making sure that people still get to borrow what's they requested.
CDPHP shows up a couple of times because it's longer than a month and, there's other items. Any questions on that, whether or not 12.5 million, stimulate questions as opposed to 80%?
Is there a motion to approve the check reg, or did you want to add something?
No, we'll just talk about I'll just briefly talk about the investment report at the motion.
Is there a motion to vote on the larger check register? Thank you, Mike P. Is there a second? Thanks, Alish. Is there any additional discussion or questions for George?
I just had a funny question. It's such a minimal amount, but I see like Ashley Ebola, like we got refunded because it was rescheduled, and there's like $2 25 charges and the $100 comes back. What were the two $25 charges?
If you recall which ones those were?
It was basically 25% of the contract because of the snow, but then they rescheduled it, so we didn't have to get the 25 bucks.
We had one snow day in the month, so we had to reschedule some programming.
Okay, I was like, that's so strange. That's all. It was like $25. Just curious. That's it.
Okay. All in favor of approving the check register from January 11th to February 26th, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. It passes unanimously. Approved. Pete, you're up for director and department heads report.
Sure. So I'm gonna hop around in my report a little bit in the interest of we have a visitor tonight who I'd like to introduce first. So I reintroduced Caroline Boldow, our new marketing specialist. Like I said last month, if you've been following our social media, you've already seen Caroline's good work. Those of you who read our newsletter, she and Amy have been collaborating on a new and improved version of the newsletter coming out next month. I got a sneak peek of it already, and I'm delighted. Caroline has been an absolute treasure thus far, so no pressure, Caroline, please say a few words about yourself.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, I'll sit. Yeah, I'm Caroline. Super happy to be here. This is like my dream job. I said that in my interview, and it's true. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
What did you do before you came here?
I was previously with the YWCA in Schenectady doing the same thing, just for their domestic violence children.
Facebook stuff and the stories and all that.
Yep.
I was wondering, I was like, who is working this day? They seem fresh and like, really on top of it. So,
Thank you.
yeah, let's see that.
So we are delighted. There was a public comment that asked about articles in the Ultima Enterprise. They bear my name, but they're a collaborative process. Caroline helps me put them together. So we are back in the Enterprise for Enterprise readers and have been there for how many weeks?
I think this is the fourth.
We're delighted to be contributing because I know a lot of people have asked. Caroline, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. If not, you can escape. But thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
Thank you.
All right, a couple of other items that don't require a vote necessarily, but require some action. I bring with me today a copy of the election packet. Board elections are coming up in May. I worked with the school board on putting together the informational packet, which we have here at the library. We have 4 seats up for election this year. So anyone who's interested in running should, pick up a packet. And we're looking for-
We have 4.
We had 2 partial terms that expired,
Right.
and then there are 2 terms that have just come up.
The good part of the world.
Like we're all showing.
Yeah, I'll take that on yours.
Yeah.
Is it
That's
better?
already in the you and Marcia, right?
What?
Is it you and Marcia?
I don't know, is it? I thought
It
it
is
was
you
for
and
you.
Marcia, and the 2 mics.
We have the 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So with the board's permission, we can start advertising for this on the website, just to get the word out there that there is an election coming and interested candidates should apply. I'm also happy to serve as a resource if anyone has questions about, life in the day of a board member, but of course, I would defer to you, Corey, as well as the board president. Delightful. The packet itself is largely unchanged from what we used last year. I just updated names and contact information. Reworked paragraph about why it's important to have the library board. So board elections are coming up. Any questions, you can let me know after the meeting or after the director's report or whenever you'd like. I mentioned this in the director's report, but Staff Appreciation Day is coming up in March. Previous year, at least last year, board members contributed snacks, either making snacks or giving money for them. If you'd like to do so again this year, the staff would be delighted. Just let me know. If you just want to contribute financially, we're happy to purchase snacks on your behalf.
From the board, I think they just have board funds. Like
You
you
do.
do, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know how much we have.
I,
How many, what are our board funds, George?
do you recall at the end how much we had in the for board development?
Well, probably it's quickly.
Well, and we can
Yeah.
get that information.
I think we've only spent $20 of it so far.
I think you, oh wait, yeah, it's a new year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, if that's the board's preference, I'm happy to charge it to board expenses for board development.
I think we might want to be a little cautious about it because it's not really anything related to board development, but I understand that and I support us doing something.
Mhm.
And it's coming up very quickly, right?
It is, I believe it's March 14th.
The 7th is what you're,
in the report.
yeah, because it's before our.
Are there 2 different funds, like board discretionary board funds and board development, or it's all one? Okay.
Yeah.
Next week.
It's next week.
It is.
No, tomorrow. Or the 8th.
Right.
In 2 weeks, 2 weeks.
No, the 7th.
Oh, 7, sorry. I was gonna hear 14.
Because I asked to go to the 14th.
Ah, that's fine.
I am happy to take the lead on this and we'll follow up with an email to board members if they are interested in contributing and or want to advocate for how this falls under board. That work? Okay.
Much appreciated. The other item that comes up for election or for vote rather in May is the library budget. George and I have been working on a preliminary proposed budget. Is that a fair way to describe it, George? So we will have, we need to call a special meeting of the finance committee to go over, and then we'll have to have a session to brief the board and a session for the public as well. And then I will also mention, we are still planning on doing the library book sale. The proposed date of the 25th, 26th, 27th of April is a little bit in flux. There's actually a conflict using the Helderberg space. So it'll either be that weekend or the following weekend, which is May 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
section 30.
2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Either way, the book sale coming up in about 2 months. We did volunteer interviews this past week. We had over 80 applicants, so people who wanted to volunteer to help with the book sale, and I interviewed over 50 of them. And it was an amazing turnout. The enthusiasm was great. So many people were like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help the library, which I said, don't say that out loud because I will hold you to that. But I think we're going to be in a really good place to start taking donations on March 15th, that Saturday. And then we'll take them for about, 5 to 6 weeks for taking donations before the book sale. If anyone is interested in volunteering either the book sale weekend or helping to sort donations, please let me know, especially board members in my experience make really great volunteer supervisors. Which is
I wanted to.
I knew I'd come, Mike.
Send an email of what that would entail, because I might do it, but I'm afraid I'm gonna take home too many books.
That is not patient.
Yeah, we do the same thing.
Yes, we're gonna put together essentially a job description for the volunteers, so I can make one for board members as well.
Tentatively interested, depending on like things.
I can work with that. Okay, and then were there any questions about anything else that I mentioned in the director's report? I think I've covered the 4 action items coming up. We are getting a visit from Assemblymember Gabriela Romero on March 6th. I'll be giving her a tour, and then we'll be hosting her open office hours in this very room. So if anyone's interested in meeting her, she is a strong library supporter. I've had the pleasure of talking to her a couple of times. Very interested in partnering with the library and helping to meet her constituents here.
I guess before we move on, going back to the snack thing, because I know if we send out an email later, like we can't really, it's doing like board business outside of the meeting potentially. So I was curious, like, what other things do we typically use our funds for? And if historically we would do this, is there like just a cap? And if we say up to this amount is fine, like 10% of our.
Last year we just did donation based and you
we did?
got the stuff.
Okay, cool. I don't know. I don't remember
So
much of things. But
The
cool.
the board development funds are taxpayer funds that are intended for us to develop as a board. So
Ah,
that's why I'm a little hesitant to.
Oh, that's
utilize
fair.
those.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yes.
I was like, I remember the sandwich thing, and we did cover some of that. But that's where I was just trying
Yeah.
to clarify.
So I will follow up an email tomorrow.
Okay, that's fair. Thanks for the reminder. I was like, I know we've used it for food before, and I was just not sure what the delineation was, but that made sense because it was for him starting sandwiches. Okay.
Any other questions or comments on the director's department head reports? Hey,
Thanks for all your reports. The pictures are great. They are.
Try to brighten it up a little bit, bring up the long blocks of text that I'm looking for.
No, they're great. They're awesome.
on to committee reports. Tony, do you have anything from finance?
No, we did not meet. We couldn't make it Tuesday or today. So we do have to work on the budget and we know the audit is complete, so we can do that. That's it.
Okay.
I did have correspondence with the auditor today, and she notes that we'll be calling her to set a meeting up so they can present it.
Okay.
I said some evening probably. Yeah.
Okay. Elise, do you have anything for this committee reports time?
I do. I
Personnel?
just realized I probably should have done one of these as well. I did all the other typing up and I didn't do that. So I'll get that to you tomorrow. But yes, so during our personnel committee, we did discuss, and I know an email already circulated around from Pete on some sort of analyzation he's done of, you know, just library efficiencies and stuff like that. We'll be discussing that in executive session. That was just a little bit of our meeting. The crux of the meeting was to do the director's annual review. Well, we can discuss specific details of that in executive, but you know, in terms of transparency and letting the public and everyone else know, it was a favorable review. I did reach out to every single committee chair for their feedback. So you guys already know the questions, but just for public awareness, it was, does the director show up to your meetings regularly? Is he prepared and is he proactively contributing to it? And just any additional comments. So all of that was favorable. We discussed goal alignment and sort of the progress with the goals. And since Pete's been here about 9 months, so not a full year, there's been a lot of progress towards some of those goals. Some of them will continue on that still have some additional components to wrap up, some things are getting added, and then priorities sort of shifted based on sort of how the first 9 months looked. So it looks like we have a really good action plan. I'll share some of the committee's notes in the executive session, since that's related to an employee, so we wanted to keep that confidential. But sort of the gist is everything seems to be going ahead, and we can just, you know, divulge some of the pain points and stuff that came up in executive, but everything was great. And so we are happy to have Pete, and we will be continuing with this process. And I await your feedback if there's things that we could do better with that, because this is a little different. We kind of tweaked sort of what the formatting was for the rest of the staff, because we wanted to try to align it as much as possible, but make it more director specific. So it seemed to work mostly well, but if there's anything we need to refine for the next round, and then I know you're gonna put some thought if you want to do quarterly or annually, with the right word, anyway. So you'll let us know, and then we'll just keep everybody updated, and I'll keep soliciting the chair feedback and go from there. So, yeah, that was
Thank you. Bill is not here, but he did submit a committee report for facilities that's included in the back of the packet. And I know that both Mike P. and Tony are here. So if we have, do we have any questions about that? Is there anything you want to add?
book sale prep, artwork, decor, normal skill prep utilization.
Okay, perfect. Mike did not submit anything for governance. Did you meet?
No, we tried really, really hard, but there was a lot of people that were out at different times and we couldn't get quorum. We do have one issue that we were going to bring to the board. So we're hoping we're going to have that for you at the next. I think we're meeting next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the season for everything to go awry. Long range planning, I do not have a report, but I appreciate you all filling out the survey. The analysis is not complete yet, but I will have that next week. We received responses from all board members, and we received responses from 18 staff members. And I can say from reviewing them, there is actually a lot of alignment between the board and the staff, which is exciting because it means we are really kind of on the same page about a lot of things. So I will be sharing that with the long range planning committee and the full board once it's broken down. Board development, Marina, was there anything?
Yeah, so I sent you guys the survey of what you prefer between those 7 or 8 classes. I did get them from the last meeting. I tabulated them. Let me just see what I said to Tim here. Tim Burke is retiring soon. And so I'd have to coordinate with him if he's still here for the classes that he's teaching. Otherwise, I have to refer to other people. And the tops were long range planning was number 1 for library boards. Number 2 was legal basics. And number 3 was New York State minimum standards for public libraries. So I will be reaching out hopefully soon to you all with what is your availability so I can start planning. I assume evenings on weekdays work best for people. So I guess I'll give some dates in a survey and then we'll go from there. So hopefully long range planning is first as well as your priority.
Okay, thanks, Raina. Mike is not here. I don't believe anyone that was working on cafe investigations here, so we'll move on unless there was.
I don't remember the full committee.
I believe that it's Mike, Bill, and Marcia.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I don't. Yeah. Leash, is there anything to report from the foundation?
No, fortunately, their meeting is tonight. He did make an eager plea for them to move it, but I think that wasn't noticed until today. And at that point, it was a little too late. So it seems like they are, based on the email I got, I'm reading through it just to make sure I don't miss anything. It seems like they are heavily focusing on recruitment efforts. It's really hard for them to do a lot of the work that they hope to do because it's just hard to get people. They've had some longstanding members step away. So they are focusing on that. Pete did give them a list of things that he hopes to involve them in. And so I don't want to commit them to anything, but you know, she just said, oh, you know, we look forward to hopefully being involved in summer reading and the book sale and things like that, but there's no commitment just yet, so I don't want to sign them up for anything at the moment. But it seems like we haven't answered because this just came in right not that long ago, but she was asking if we wanted to sit down and chat through some of those asks. So we can figure out a time. If it's lunch, that's the easiest for me, but I'll make whatever work. So we'll sit down with their, she's technically president. Great, yeah. Samantha Coons, so, yeah.
As far as Upper Hudson, I don't have anything groundbreaking to report. Like Marina said, Tim is leaving. We're in the process of interviewing for a new executive director. Tim Burke's final day there, I believe, is like April 11th, and they are having a send-off party. So if you've had a connection with Tim and would like to come, let me know and I will forward you the invitation. But otherwise, things are moving along swimmingly at Upper Hudson. Is there anything that was missed from the committee reports? Is there any old business to be discussed? Okay, under new business, we have two items, both coming from Alish. So we will start with that first item that's on there, adding a period at the end of board meetings for general board thoughts and questions.
Yeah, so I went to the most recent school board meeting and I saw that they did that and I found it interesting because I've noticed it's kind of like there is no time period to make just comments here at the board meetings unless it's specific to like something we're voting on or whatever. Like, so I saw them do that and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And I feel like that when you don't want to specifically speak about like old or new business, it's a good way to bring up thoughts or like calls to action or something like that, or even notices to like things happening in the community. So I think that'd be good maybe to throw at the end if that works for our board. I thought that was interesting. So, because I know sometimes we have things going on that we want to bring attention to and it's not library board business, but it's community related or something like that. I thought.
Does anyone have thoughts on this?
I think it's a good idea. I'm in my job, I go on the chiropractic board. We have a question and answer at the end of the board meeting. That's kind of like that, where people can like have time to ask any questions they want to do or bring up issues they have. Or so I like the idea. I think it's a good.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Barbara.
And you're
muted.
How's that? Better?
Here we
Yeah.
go.
No, I fully support that idea. It gives you a chance to, just talk about some issues that come to mind from, maybe patrons that have talked to you or whatever. And a lot of community news is often shared at those school board meetings, upcoming concerts and things such as that haven't come out in the, regular reports. Say if we had an author talk or something and, we hadn't brought it up during the committee reports, then it's just a nice opportunity to have a little bit more dialogue.
Is anyone opposed to trying this out? And this is an open discussion if you want. Neither am I, and I think we can add it to the agenda. Because this is going to be informal until we see how it goes, should we sort of place the same restrictions on board comment as we do on public, making sure that it's concise, sort of in that 3-minute range? That
I
realistic?
thought that, but then I was also like, if it's a discussion, how do you monitor that? Because it's then other people may be talking, but maybe we can put a time block on the entirety of,
Okay,
like, get it all done in no more than
10 minutes or
10
something.
minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because then at their point, I think if the discussion becomes longer, then it maybe should be a business item.
Absolutely, yeah.
What's that?
Yes, Barbara?
I just wanted to share, they have been doing that as a school board for golly, many, many, many years. And I don't think there's ever, that I recall, been a problem of, people dominating the conversation or taking a lot of time.
That's good.
And I think if you put restrictions on it to begin with, I don't think we need to unless it becomes obvious that we need to.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that feedback. And since it's at the president's discretion to set the agenda, we'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
If it needs to be more formalized, we will go for it.
Thanks for hearing me out. I thought it was pretty neat and I was kind of like that would help me when I have like some comments that make no sense for the rest of the agenda. And they're not a business item. They don't need to be voted on to like put it out there. So anyway, thanks.
Okay. The second new business item, Leash, you had already also submitted, which is a statement on library support of our community.
Yeah, and this is something, I made a request of the school board in case anybody saw it. So there's, no surprise there if you saw my statement there. I just think this is something I also did at my work. So it's just a thing I keep bringing up as often as I can. I think with things rapidly changing as much as they have been in the world, just as like any kind of change in business or life or things like that, it becomes a little chaotic. I think it's important for a community to hear that while there's these changes going on, they can have some sort of security and feel that their community is a safe space and that things will not be taken from them that they are used to relying on. So the library is a huge community hub and a community resource, and people might be fearful that some spaces aren't safe or that we might pull the rug from under them and change some of our focuses. And in our mission statement, it says, there is no asterisks for who is welcome here and who can come here. And I know we're committed to a library for all. So I feel like just reinforcing that is our mission and vision would be really great for the public to hear, that there's some community leadership that has their backs. And so I don't think it's adding more to what we're already doing. It's just reinforcing that our goals are the same. And I know Peter Barbara and Marie Wiles have made their own independent statements along the same lines for like the areas that they're sort of seeing, but I think there's strength in numbers and it'd be great for the board to have something that they put out there. And this was already pre-discussed a little bit with Pete and Corey that I was going to have this asked. So just so nobody thinks people had head start on it, but just up for discussion. It'd be nice to do something in conjunction with administration as well and maybe do a joint statement all together or maybe just from the board. So I'm open to hearing people's thoughts on that. Yeah, just put out like on our social media and stuff, like a lot, like the New York State Department of Education has done something different, different public figures have made statements saying like, hey, the people that are, that I'm not in charge of, that's a terrible way to phrase that. But, in my jurisdiction, like hopefully people can rely on continuing to see XYZ, like we're not taking these things from you, or the library is a safe space for you. You're welcome here.
I think it's a great idea. The library is the heart of the community, so I support it.
Are there other thoughts about this?
I guess I'm just a little bit puzzled. I mean, our mission statement is quite clear, and I don't see where we have in any way backed off from that. So are we creating problems where there aren't any problems?
So my analogy that I bring up for that is, while I know my family loves me, it's nice to hear it sometimes. So said out loud. So this is, like I said, we're not committing to more. We're just reinforcing and reminding our community that we are here for them in that capacity. And that's how I see it. And that those that are fearful that that might not be the case permanently or going forward are reassured that we are just, staying the course, and that the things that we have always valued are focusing on will continue to be the case.
Have we gotten anything that people are fearful that the library is going to change its mission or services?
Not specific to the library, but I know that there are people that are in marginalized communities and things like that, that are just fearful of things in general and not sure where their safe spaces are. And because I came up here from North Carolina, I know quite a few people that are moving states to find places that are safer, that are publicly saying this is a safe space for you, because they are not where they are. So it just led me to believe, like, it's such a low hanging fruit to just say, we are still committed to our community and that this is a safe space to reassure those people that are feeling very unsure right now, including my own family members, who my kids have come home and said they do not feel safe at school. So it'd be nice in some capacity that there is some community organization that's committing to that safety somewhere.
Are you like referring to the pro-Palestinians that are, you know, lobbying in behalf of Hamas versus the Jewish nation? I just don't see that we've had any big conflict in our town or in our library community that. I'm puzzled. I just think that,
Yeah,
you know, our mission statement is very clear, and that I just haven't seen any, when you talk about safe spaces, I don't see anybody that's been disenfranchised in our town or whatever. I'm just puzzled.
I mean, there are definitely communities that are disenfranchised. You're a different community than other people are. You're a different community than I am and Alicia's, and maybe we see stuff different than you are. You do. I don't think there's a downside to doing it. If our mission statement is already clear, we can just reiterate it and put it back out there. There's no downside to doing that.
I mean, I'm happy to share my personal story because I already did it publicly, so it's not, like I said, new. My kids are half Mexican, and my daughter, with tears in her eyes, asked me if someone was going to come take her from school or if someone was going to come take her dad. And while I know that's probably not going to happen, the fact that she had that thought and said that she felt unsafe at school is heartbreaking as a parent to hear. And I think if the school is committed to not letting that happen, what harm is it in saying that, so that the people that are fearful just feel reassured? And like I said, it's, you know, your family loves you, but you like to hear it sometimes. So while we do have a mission statement, I don't think people in the community are like, let me check my library page and make sure their mission statement's still the same. I think putting stuff out like that on social media is just such a easy, you know, assurance to the community that we're not changing anything. So if we already know we're not doing that, I don't think it hurts to let other people know that that's what they should come to expect, is that we're staying the course.
I work for the federal government, and the agency I work for has also put out a statement saying that despite everything that's happening, we're still staying committed to our patients or whatever else. It's still going to be what you have, and what you can expect is still going to be the same. It's just reassuring. So I don't see a downside to it. I guess I don't even see the argument. I don't understand why it's even a discussion. Do it.
And they're doing the same thing. I work for the education department, and they've been doing similar things
Yeah.
like this too. So like it needs to be done with all the politics that are going on, all this stuff with immigration, all the bad things going on right now. You know, they need to know that they have a safe place, and the library is a safe place for everybody. So if we have a statement that makes that clear, people will feel more comfortable coming here.
I guess I'm just confused with you're talking on immigration and people being picked up. The only people that are being picked up, you have what, 9 rapists that were let loose in Massachusetts when they could have been taken from the jails safely and deported back to their country. We're not dealing with that in the library, but I understand Elise basically, you know, saying that if people don't feel safe, they know that nothing is happening in the library that's going to, you know, hurt them or change. So that's fine by me, but we're just sort of talking around the edges here, it seems like. And as I said, I don't think the Americans on the whole mind child rapists being deported back to their home country.
I don't want this to devolve into like a political conversation, even though it has political undertones. I recognize that. But I think what we just need to decide if we want to gather around is the concept that we want to reiterate our mission, either using these exact same words or paraphrasing it as just a reminder to the community regardless. And perhaps this is something we should think about doing frequently. Every 6 months, we say something fresh to remind the public, the board is here for you. We're here for this community. We want this to be a safe space. So, you know, we like to think the library is apolitical and that we are welcoming to all. So,
Yeah, no, I have no problem with reiterating our mission statement. I just, all these peripheral issues that seem to be coming to play here, sort of puzzle me a little bit. But I understand, I have no problem reiterating our mission statement. I think it's solid. It welcomes everybody. We try to have good services for everybody. I have no problem with that, but, you know, certain other issues have been brought up here and I'm saying, you know, those really don't particularly pertain to our situation.
Who would be drafting the statement?
So I know we have a marketing person who might be the best person for that, but I know if it's more of a board statement, I know we've always kind of had, you know, sort of a myth, like where's that line? If it's a board statement, does the board member do it? Or do we want to make a joint board library statement? Which, like I said, power numbers, I'm fine with that too. And
I form like a committee to do it? Like, can we pick, if board members are interested in helping with it, can we form like
I feel like that, just my personal opinion, that will then drag that out because I feel like this is a timeliness thing. I feel like we just mentioned the mission statement. And if I think for maybe bonus points, if we point out programs we have that help the disenfranchised communities that we're hoping to reassure because their programs are already doing, that's the quickest way to just be like, hey, reminder our community, here's our mission. And then here's some programs that you might find helpful in case you haven't seen them, we do them. And is that easy enough that we don't have to like over engineer this? Because I feel like that's just to the point, it doesn't turn into like nitpicking wording. That would be my proposal.
Yeah, I think a joint statement is much stronger. I wouldn't want the board to be on their own, making a statement the same way I wouldn't want the library to be on their own. And in that regard, I think, you know, library staff can certainly help with crafting that message. Beyond our mission statement, we have the banner that hangs outside every day saying the library is for everyone. So we're just, again, reaffirming a message that we already say every day.
Is everyone cool with that? Do we need like an official like approval?
if it is coming as a statement from the board, it needs to be approved by the board. So
Can we craft something and then approve it at the next meeting? I feel like a month is long, but not as long as like a committee doing all this stuff, yeah.
please share your perspectives, everyone. Is this something you would want done immediately, or do you want to? And keep in mind, we have a shorter time between the next meetings because this one is still
A couple weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah, this
this
was
is
pushed up
something that
like 3 weeks.
Yes.
All right, what's been done in the past is you draft a statement, send it out to us, and we can critique it and give you our feedback. And then you know, once it seems to be completed and everybody's input has been there, then, like you said, the next board meeting is just a few weeks away.
2 weeks.
Okay, perfect. So Pete is gonna coordinate with marketing folks and loop us in, and we will have a draft statement to work from in advance of the next meeting to see if it falls in line with what we want. Thanks for bringing this to our attention, and I appreciate everyone's discussion on it. Is there any other new business? Okay, do we have any additional public input? Amy, nothing came in?
I don't have anything.
Okay. If there is no additional public input, then I would, oh. Maybe somebody wants to offer public input from Barbara's end. Then I would ask for a motion. We have need of an executive session to approve the director's review and discussion of a particular personnel matter. So I would ask for a motion to enter executive session.
Make a motion.
Second.
So moved.
Okay. Thanks. Okay.
Certainly right.
So we just say yes.
Oh,
Barbara will see you over the other session.
You have to get out of this one, right?
Yep.
okay, thank you.